So, und damit herzlich willkommen zum BeAPro und FranchiseMode Trailer. Let's go. NHL, another trailer is coming. Ich bin mega gespannt. Und wir lauschen. Etwas mehr als ich, ja.
Welcome to the third installment of our NHL 22 in-depth series. Today we're diving into BeAPro and FranchiseMode.
Okay, da kann man wieder die Klasse auswählen.
Servus, Nick! On October 6th, one day before early access is live with EA Play. So there's a lot of info coming in these next few days.
Das ist der Archetype, seht ihr da oben?
To our YouTube and other social channels. With that out of the way, let's get right into the content. I'm happy to be joined by Gern, who spans across BeAPro and FranchiseMode on the NHL series. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm hoping today you can talk us through what's new with
BeAPro
and FranchiseMode, and a special surprise at the end that we can share with people.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So this year with BeAPro, obviously with the rest of the game having Superstar X Factors in there, what we wanted to do was kind of enhance the BeAPro experience with that feature. So we've added in around roughly 300 new conversations as a part of content, as a part of long-term storylines, which were something that we wanted to add into the game so that you're able to have multi-year challenges, kind of be able to really keep your career going, whether it be playing on the same team or different teams,
also die Geschichte wird weitergeschrieben, nicht nach einem Jahr beendet.
Like Superstar X Factor.
So starting with your build archetype, how are the X Factor abilities affecting this? Because as you see with each archetype, there's an X Factor ability tied to it. Do you now sort of unlock that ability right when you start your BeAPro career?
Good question. So yes and no. Essentially, these archetypes each have an X Factor that's kind of unique to that specific archetype. And what we ended up deciding on what we wanted to do is not necessarily give you the X Factor right away, but what we want you to go through is a shorter term storyline that you need to go through that spans over the course of a few games. And then you're able to unlock one of these X Factors as your first X Factor that you gain as a part of your NHL career. And that storyline then spans into the second year of your career.
So you talked about those new storylines. Can you walk us through sort of how you unlock X Factors and how that all works?
Of course. So we're in the brand new ability screen. And the first thing you'll notice at the very top here is you have a zone ability slot, and then you have 5 superstar ability slots. And each of these are unlocked via X Factor points. So by default, you have your zone ability unlocked for you. But as you progress through your career and as you buy salary perks,
kommt auch bei Hood, ja,
you will earn X Factor points, and that will then allow you to unlock specific.
Das ist halt geil. Kommt erst im Laufe der Karriere, das finde ich geil, dass man nicht von Anfang an so overpowered.
You're then able to use one of the X Factors that you have available for this specific archetype. So each X Factor is attached to a specific storyline. Some of these storylines are part 1 of a storyline, some others are part 2 or part 3 of another storyline. But at a certain point in time, you will be able to unlock these X Factors via that specific storyline. So as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner where you see the View Challenge Progress, this says Regular Customer / Divisional Enthusiast Part 3. And that information
5 Seasons on the same team und dann kriegt man den Slot freigeschaltet. Oh, wie krass.
Oh,
wie krass. Das heißt, man muss wirklich Jahre spielen.
This X Factor does as a zone ability versus a superstar ability. And once you have the actual X Factor in progress, we'll show you how much or how little you need to achieve as a part of that challenge to unlock said X Factor.
It looks like a lot of these storylines sort of stem past your first initial season. I know in NHL 21, a big focus was just on the rookie season. Was the focus for 22 to get these storylines to expand over just your first season?
So, we obviously take feedback seriously, and we did know that through the community, a big pain point was just having a lot of the focus around the rookie season. There were some stuff that would come past year 1 last year, but it was more milestone-based achievements.
Seasons, aber es gab noch ein alternatives
Freischaltmöglichkeit. More than just your rookie season. So Well, there's roughly about 10 different storylines here, and each of them do span past one season. Some span almost 10 in some cases, some of the harder ones, that is. So once you unlock, say, something along the lines of Ultimate Champion, you're now trying to break the record for the most Stanley Cups won by a player. So there are things here that we make you try to push for and achieve that do go past that first rookie season. Some of these will unlock depending on how well you play or how poorly you play in that first season, but most of these will start unlocking in season 2, 3, or 4 and beyond.
I also heard that the conversation system has been expanded. How do the new storylines and X factors play into this system?
So, as I mentioned before, we've added a lot of new conversations to the content catalog of BeAPro this year. So, as a part of these longer-term storylines, we wanted to kind of fix some of the pain points that we had with the system last year visually.
Okay, die Fehler wohl ausgemerzt, die man letztes Jahr hatte.
Things that we didn't do last year that, you know, left people wondering, what challenge did I pick? Why did I pick it? And, you know, what am I going to get from this? So one of the things that we wanted to do now that we're giving out X factors and really wanted to let the user choose between different storyline points in a conversation, we wanted to kind of show you your future rewards. So you can see in the bottom right there that, you know, you have a future reward here for Spinorama. Depending on certain conversations, that may change based off of the storyline you choose. So if you pick the storyline to the left here, it may show Spinorama, and the other one, it may show something else. The second thing you see is there, we kind of give you a quick synopsis of what the storyline is. So in this case, you have The Journey Begins, which is the default storyline for every archetype. However, every archetype has a specific set of goals, has a specific set of things they need to accomplish to get the reward of a X Factor. And each X Factor is unique.
Okay, es ist wohl abgestimmt
in this
auf die
case,
verschiedenen...
you're looking at The Journey Begins, and you're starting your career in the NHL, you're trying to establish yourself. So the challenge here is to play 5 games, get 2 goals, 2 assists, and 5 hits in those 5 games. And this is a very starting storyline, so it is a very easy storyline to kind of get your foot wet into, kind of dip your toe into the water, earn that first X Factor.
Die schlechten von NHL 21, die waren schade, die waren blöd, Fuli, ja.
On the bottom left there, were highlighted in blue. So in this conversation, it doesn't make too much of a difference as it's a very linear path, but as you get into some of the more complex storylines, you're going to be having to make a choice. So what we want to do is kind of make sure that the user knows that, hey, I'm picking a storyline. So you'll see that blue highlight as well as the storyline button to kind of pick from, so that you're not accidentally entering a storyline or not rushing through and clicking through.
Oh, krass, neues Coyotes-Logo, neues altes Coyotes-Logo.
And the other thing is, if you choose to opt out of the storyline, which is a possibility, so if you don't want to partake in our Conn Smythe storyline or a storyline that allows you to opt out, you will be able to go back into that storyline at a later time by having a conversation that you can trigger with the coach or media or whomever it may be manually from the main BeAPro menu. So this is an example of a longer-term storyline. It's, again, one of the ones that you want to dip your toe into the water with some of these longer-term storylines. So, you know, this one is just play on the same team for 5 years. And there are longer-term storylines that are a lot more challenging than this, but this is something that we wanted to kind of make it easy enough for someone to earn something if they do want to play for one team for their entire career or play for one team for a very long time, which, you know, in BeAPro, you are potentially asking for a trade or signing with another team. This may make you think twice about doing that. And again,
die wollen also damit, dass man länger bei einem
Team
bleibt. Auch sehr geil. Und nicht gleich immer den Trade verlangt. Alles gut, Blackhawk. Danke für die Info.
And again, you're able to kind of pick and choose between what you would get for the storyline and get to see what you earn from picking the storyline.
Did you guys do anything else to tie into these longer term goals and accomplishments that you can have throughout your career?
We did a couple of things. One of the things that we did was we expanded on our likability system to be a bigger range and also a slower progress than it was last year. So
cool.
You'll see on this screen that
Geht alles
the
ein bisschen
likability
länger.
ranges from 10K to minus 10K now, as opposed to 1K to minus 1K. Last year, we were able to kind of get a lot of those bars full pretty quickly or low really quickly. We wanted to kind of make this a much more
FC Basti, Dankeschön für 25 Euro. Vielen
So you're able to kind of earn management likability at a slower pace. But if you complete all these challenges, you'll be not as quick as last year, but certainly it'll take you
Vom
a
Aussehen
year
ja,
or
Snapper
2 or
Crusader.
3 to kind of fill up these meters if you just stick down the same path and complete all the challenges the first time through. So we wanted to make that progression feel longer. And then also with the legacy meter, we wanted to make that feel more special so that it does take a lot longer to become a gold level legacy player. So that will now take you a long time as well to kind of then tie back into, you know, winning multiple championships, winning awards, you name it, to kind of feel like
Das hat
you are
ja,
a
irgendwie.
gold legacy
Wegen
meter
der
player
Frostbite.
in the NHL.
Oh,
Shifting over
jetzt.
to franchise mode.
Franchise
Let's start
mode.
with expansion and the Seattle Kraken.
Obviously, this year with the Seattle team actually expanding into the league,
So geil.
we wanted to allow the user to either pick their own team based off of the authentic expansion protection list that team submitted, or they can use an automated system based off of what the CPU generates, which is different from time to time. And then they can pick a new and brand new unique team. On top of that, as you saw, you're also able to expand into the league as a 33rd NHL
Das
team,
ist der Draft.
which is something that we wanted to keep as an option, because before we had, you know, the NHL had 31 teams and you can expand to the 32nd. We wanted to allow the user to kind of have that custom team and have that custom
Kommt
team
später auf
enter the
YouTube
league
noch, Sniper
as a
Crusader.
part of the NHL. So we wanted to keep that experience there for the fans that love the 32nd expansion team mode as a mode for them to continue to keep playing and allow them to keep that creativity and customization that they loved putting into those teams and put them into their franchise mode. We also added in a setting as a part of the 33 team expansion draft where you can exempt Seattle or have Seattle partake in it. So it's totally up to you. Obviously, Vegas was exempt from the Seattle expansion draft. We wanted to kind of give the users the option to play
Dass Seattle keinen Spieler abgeben muss an unser 33. Team dann.
Now, in terms of how X Factors make their way to franchise mode, it all starts with the draft. Can you explain what players will have to look out for when drafting players now?
Können wir nicht machen,
so
Ilmi.
we've added a brand new scouting report to franchise mode called X Factor Report, and the X Factor Report is there to kind of tell you if a player is an X Factor. So this applies for both amateur and pro players. So, you know, in years past, you only had the 3 tabs for the amateur report. You now have a 4th tab called X Factors.
Wegen dem Draft,
and in here
weil ich
you'll
ja eigene
see
Spieler brauche
what
und den Draft
X
nicht
factors
durchlaufen
a
darf.
potential player has in the draft. And in the earlier rounds, you'll see more players with X Factors. And then as you get into the deeper rounds, you may find a player that has a decent potential or a lowly potential with an X Factor. And that may be a gem that you would want to pick. So you'll start seeing players in the later rounds potentially have 1, maybe 2 X Factors. They may not be zone abilities,
Die
they may be
Abilities finde
superstar
ich
abilities,
mega
but they
geil.
do have a big impact in how you build your team. So you want to be able to kind of
Da
draft
hat
these
EA
players
nichts mit zu
so that
tun,
you're able
Ilmi. Das
to
ist der Expansion
maximize
Draft.
your team
Der ist von der
chemistry as well.
NHL.
So X Factors now play into your overall line chemistry when you're creating your team.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is in years past, we had player type kind of be a very important factor for line chemistry. And what we want to do is kind of take it to the next step and have X factors that are similar compatibility, that are very compatible with one another. So say shooting and passing X factors, or defensive X factors with other defensive X factors for your 4th or 3rd line. They have a big impact on chemistry now. So what we also did was we kind of expanded the range on chemistry. So you'll see a lot more positive and negative chemistry balances, as well as just the balance between how much an X factor can overcome some other deficiencies. So having players on your even strength lines have 3
Das
X
wird halt
factors that
so
all work
krass.
together can overcome poor line fit as well. So it does allow you for
Oh, Army,
a
da
little bit
kommt
more
was
of a
auf uns
grace
zu.
if you have players that have very similar X factors or work compatible X factors that work well with one another.
Do X Factors affect more than just 5v5 lines, like the penalty kill and power play as well?
Certain X factors help outside of just 5-on-5 lines, such as 1T, which also helps out on the power play. Others may not help in certain situations either, so certain offensive X factors won't help out on the penalty kill and vice versa. So different line combinations, different lineups have
Also
different
die
chemistry outcomes
X-Factor-Abilities
based off of the X factors
ersetzen
that they
oder
have.
werden nicht
So if you
overpowered
do
sein,
have an
außer
X-Factor,
1T,
it is
was
a
eben
really
im
important
Powerplay
part,
hilft.
but if your players
Ansonsten
don't have a lot of X factors,
Nicht
you
so
won't be
krass.
necessarily negatively impacted by it. The other factors
Blackhawk.
still contribute a good chunk of your chemistry. So, you know, even if you don't have a Superstar X Factor player on a line, you can still have a +1 chemistry or a 0 chemistry. In some cases, +2 if everything kind of works out. It's just a matter of how those players kind of go together. You can still have decent chemistry as a result.
We actually have one final feature that we're working to bring to NHL 22 post-launch.
So sieht das Menü
you guys
aus.
have been asking for a very long time now, and is a first for the NHL series. Gern, can you do the honors of unveiling exactly what I'm talking about?
So I'm very excited to tell the community that we are planning on releasing roster sharing as a part of NHL 22 this year. We're going to allow the users to upload and share their roster files throughout the community and import them into franchise mode and playing with their favorite rosters from the community in their favorite mode.
Das ist nice. Da können wir die Kader.
We know the community has been asking for a very long time. It has been on the tops of our list to do, in all honesty, because it is such a fan-driven, requested feature that, you know, you see all over our forums, our Reddit communities on Twitter, and we know it's really important to you guys, and it is something that we wanted to deliver, and you know, we're really happy to be delivering it this year, just because, you know, it adds so much to the franchise mode experience. It allows you to kind of share and build a brand new community within our game, which is really cool to see. And it's really awesome to be able to kind of give our fans that tool to build and share amongst themselves for the first time in the NHL series.
Kommen wir gleich nochmal drauf, Krebser, bin ich mir nicht sicher, wegen dem selber erstellten Team. Da geht es, glaube ich, nur um die Roster, nicht um die Teams.
It is something that we are working hard towards, that is for sure.
So if I get the game at launch and start creating a roster, will I be able to upload that for others once the patch goes live?
Yes, so the plan is to allow you to start creating your roster on day one of when the game launches, and then be able to upload your favorite roster that you want to the community once the roster update feature goes live in that patch.
For those who don't know what roster sharing is or how it works, can you explain to them the possibilities you'll have now that roster sharing will be in 22?
Of course. So there's 4 key points of roster sharing. So there is the ability to save your file to be uploaded. So you take your offline file and then you would use the save file screen to save your file to be uploaded. Then you can go into your upload files or your share file screen, and then you can share your files, give it a description, and, you know, say it may be something like the greatest prospect potential roster update ever, which inclines that, hey, you created a bunch of or edited a bunch of prospects for the draft in franchise mode, and you're able to then upload it and then have people download it. When people download the file, they're able to either give it a like and to kind of help it become a higher rated file. You'll also be able to view how many times that file's been downloaded, as well as like, and then once you've uploaded or you want to download a file, you head over to the community file screen, and then you can view all the files that are in the community. You can search for specific files. You can see all the files a specific player has uploaded. You can look at the most downloaded, the most liked files that are available. And then once you're ready to download a file,
da gibt es bestimmt ein paar coole Köpfe, die geile Kader machen. Vielleicht auch ein DEL2-Kader, whatever.
It'll be really cool to see once everything's kind of up and running, to see all the files, all the new unique rosters that are going to be available for users to use this year. It's really exciting for us on the
Das finde ich nice.
Team. So as a part of your uploads or your downloads, you're able to kind of edit your players or create new players and give them different ratings, different attributes,
McDavid hatte
different
95
X factors,
Fudi
whatever
gerade.
it may be,
Und Leon Dreiseite, glaube ich, 92.
And, you know, so if you want to do a unique overall scale, you can do that. If you want to change potentials of players, you can do that. If you want to give them certain X factors, you can do that. The purpose of the feature is to allow the community to drive what is popular and allowing them to kind of pick and choose what they want that is best for their franchise mode, and allow them to kind of really enhance their experience within that mode.
There you have it. Roster sharing coming to NHL 22. This was such a community-inspired feature, and I'm really excited that we were able to implement it this year. Thanks again to Gern for walking us through all those features.
War nicht Hockey Ultimate Team, Fodi.
War final deep dive into Hockey Ultimate Team. See ya.
Also, jetzt kommt gleich wieder Play on Xbox.
Ha! Play it on the all-new Xbox.
Das war der BeAPro und FranchiseMode Trailer und für alle, die auf YouTube zuschauen, Daumen nach oben, würde mich mega freuen. Wie hat er euch gefallen? Was findet ihr gut? Was findet ihr nicht so gut? Einfach in die Kommentare schreiben und dann beim nächsten Mal wieder einschalten. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Euer BloodyLP.